Hi, Blogging Heads viewers. It is Daniel Strauss of Woodruff and Strauss and Politico, and I'm here today with my longtime friend and movie aficionado, critic Andrew Lapin, who is broadcasting from France.
That's right.
Before I go on, actually, I'm going to go on a little rant because all of my friends seem to go to fucking France. My friend Kate was just there, and because I'm mentioning her in here, I'm going to make sure we link to her latest review, which she shared with me while she was in Paris. So everyone's going to Paris, but no one's inviting me. That's cool. I'm not angry. I'm not bitter at all. But I'm just saying, y'all are living a very cosmopolitan life, and I'm sitting here watching the rise of Donald Trump.
I'm still watching that, too, just from afar. So I have this extra distance from it.
What do the Europeans think of Trump, by the way?
I mean, they're terrified of him. I think that's the best way to say it. No one in Europe respects Trump. What's funny is that when someone wants to talk American politics to me, they bring up Bernie Sanders, and they're like, do you think he actually has a chance?
What do you say to them?
I say now it seems more unlikely than it did maybe a couple weeks ago, you no doubt know. But, I say that he's gotten a big groundswell of support, and, people here like his ideas of democratic socialism a lot more than they like fascism. So
I think a lot of people like Trump. I will say that you can't deny how many people like Trump here, and there are all kinds of people who like him.
Why do people like him?
They think he's something new and different. And they like the idea of a successful businessman. They like winners.
Is he a successful businessman?
They see a successful businessman.
Okay.
Who tells it like it is.
Tells it like it is.
And keeps winning no matter what he says. They like that.
Uh-huh.
But thoughts and analysis of Donald Trump has been done to death, and there will be far more in the future. We are here to talk about movies because it was this past Sunday, the Oscars. I'll also talk about Super Tuesday near the end.
Okay. Got a different set of winners first, though, right?
Yeah. So Best Picture. So straight out of the gate, this was a strong year for movies. Right? This was very strong. This was like a lot of good movies from, like, my three favorites were Spotlight, The Revenant, Sicario. I think I'm forgetting one other one that was really good. What else did you like?
Did you like Mad Max?
Oh, I loved Mad Max. Gosh,
there you go.
Yeah, I saw that twice.
Most Oscars.
Star Wars, yeah. So it was a very, very strong year for movies. Most years won't be like this. But, there can only be one. And I gotta say, Andrew, I don't know, maybe because I am a journalist and I despise journalists who love to talk about themselves and how successful they are. My colleague Gabe Debenedetti has a really, really good piece with our senior White House reporter, one of them, Isaac DeVere, today on Bernie Sanders. And he texted it to me this morning, and I was just in a grumpy mood, and I was like, I'm sleeping. It's before 8. I'm not going to read this. Sorry, Gabe. It's a great piece. Dope piece.
You're on the record now as saying you didn't read his piece.
Well, I did after that, but, when he texted me, like, this is why I've been so busy, I was like, leave me alone. I don't care about your magazine piece. So sorry, Gabe. I gotta say, I'm not super crazy about movies that focus on journalists because I don't like journalists self-masturbation. But this was a really good movie. That said, I thought The Revenant was more of a departure from the normal reality we live in. And Leonardo DiCaprio, sans Titanic, is just so good at everything. What did you think?
Leo is good at everything. Whether this really represented his best performance of the past decade, I think is up for debate.
Mm-hmm.
because I think he was much stronger in The Wolf of Wall Street. There's an argument for The Great Gatsby. I think people certainly like The Revenant. It's done very well at the box office, and it had the most momentum probably going into the Oscar season, so much that people saw Spotlight as sort of an upset victory. But I think I have a lot of issues with the way that The Revenant was put together, and for that reason, I'm actually I'm more excited that Spotlight won.
What were the issues that? How was The Revenant put together?
So the film to me has this intensity that is very macho, that is very in your face in this punishing way that I sort of resented. Especially the camera work by Emmanuel Lubezki was the cinematographer. It does all these sweeping moves where it sort of plunges right into Leonardo DiCaprio's face, and you see his breath fog up the camera. And I know some people really like that. I had a huge issue with it. It took me completely out of the film and into this reminder that we're watching a movie. We're watching someone act on the frontier like he is being attacked by a bear. And he's not actually being attacked by a bear.
Didn't Matt Drudge say he was going to be raped by a bear, and he absolutely wasn't? I mean, undeniably, there was no sexual contact.
No penetration whatsoever. Matt Drudge, I think, has difficulty understanding movies, but I like the bear attack scene. I like other sequences in The Revenant that were kind of gross, that were sort of fun in the way that they show just how hard it is to survive, and this single man struggle. I like a lot of that stuff. I just think the film feels very single-minded to me, and it wasn't really about what I think it's trying to be about, man on the frontier, and the rise of Western frontiersmen and destroying nature and all that stuff. I don't think it gets to all those themes that it's really trying to get to. And specifically about campaigning, the campaign theme around The Revenant that the studio was pushing to Oscar voters was that you should vote for this movie because it's really, really hard to make. Because Leonardo DiCaprio was sleeping in the woods and eating raw meat and doing all this horrible stuff, and because it was hard to make, therefore it's the best movie, which I think is a very strange bit of logic, if you know what I mean.
I didn't know any of the campaigning about it. I'm still gonna stick with my criteria, which is that. So I personally, I'm gonna disregard the campaigning for it, which is
that's fair. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up.
Right. No, and I get that. And you as a movie critic should put that into consideration. I didn't notice the breath in front of. That sounds familiar, though. That sounds right. But these are fair points. But it's just I just remember the sweeping canyons he walked through.
Yeah, or it's beautiful to look at, right?
Or or the sense of just gripping survival, and the oasis in wild America is not a city. It is not a town. It's this tiny little fort with little walls that people are desperately clinging to in the winter. Those are all pretty amazing to me. And also the desperation of the Native Americans, as we see. It's already apparent that the British and Europeans there are taking their land and messing things up.
The fur trapper scenes in the beginning, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, no, it's not just that. It's the chieftain saying you've already taken so much from us, and it being translated onto into captions. Those I thought were really good. And the flip side of Spotlight. I don't know. It was good.
Yeah.
I just feel like
Spotlight.
What?
I can defend Spotlight. I'm happy to do that. I completely understand your point about your resentment to movies about journalism, since journalists write about these things and they love to talk about themselves. However, I will say Spotlight is certainly the most accurate journalism movie I've seen in a really long time. It's a movie that actually seems to care about the craft that it's portraying, unlike I don't know, like State of Play, or the way that the journalist on House of Cards is depicted. Like, this one actually,
no female journalist is sleeping with their sources.
I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna speculate. I will say that I know.
What do you mean? There was no female journalist sleeping with their sources in the movie.
What?
No, there was no female journalist sleeping with her sources in the movie.
Talking about Spotlight now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying Spotlight is a good movie because...
Right. Well, one of the big gripes about House of Cards is that Zoe is constantly sleeping with people to get sources and doing all this unethical shit.
Well, I don't want to get... Yeah, I don't want to be too criticized for bringing in House of Cards, which is totally fictional, and Spotlight is actually based on a true story, and I think there's a lot of merit to that.
Right.
But I know the screenwriters for Spotlight actually did their due diligence in making sure that they portrayed the research process as historically accurate. And you would expect it to be really dull given that, but it's not. It's a very gripping thriller. It doesn't glorify journalism the way that an Aaron Sorkin type movie would. It doesn't have all these like crusading heroes striding against the sun. They're just doing their jobs. And they're doing their jobs, and because they do them so well, they can actually affect change in society. And I think that is worth celebrating. I think it's a very understated movie. I think it's a movie that needs more people to see it, that needs a wider audience to connect with, to not only understand, the subject matter, but also to get a better sense of like how power structures in America work. The movie is about the public press taking down a seemingly impenetrable institution, the Catholic Church, and that's a very exciting thing.
I think, unfortunately, the culture is more transactional in many journalism institutions today.
That's true.
And that's used as leverage for those institutions to protect themselves.
It's true. But and to that point, did you like how the movie sort of talks a little bit about the direction that journalism is going to be going in the next 2 decades? Because it has those scenes where Marty Baron is talking about how the paper is losing a lot of revenue. They don't know if they can justify keeping an investigative team that doesn't publish 10 slideshows a day. I thought that kind of stuff was very prominent in the movie, and it made for a very interesting approach to my own subject matter, obviously, and your own subject matter. It was a way that I think will make the public understand what journalism is a lot better than some films in the past have. Have you seen All the President's Men?
No, I haven't. I should, actually. It's just my general aversion. I mean, but that's just my general aversion to all journalist media, because I deal with it all day. And
of course. You are immersed in it much more than I am.
Well, and the other thing is that, I loved Shattered Glass. Shattered Glass is a great movie. There's nothing better than watch Hayden Christensen squirm and lie and try and get out of it and then get smashed like the little roach he is as Stephen Glass. It is.
Shattered Glass shows the worst side of what journalism can be, and I think Spotlight shows the best side of that.
Yes. Well, Spotlight, they diligently spend a year reporting on reality, and Stephen Glass makes up stories for a bi-weekly magazine to get ahead in life, and then lies about all of the stuff he's done when he gets caught.
He wants the glory without the work. The Spotlight team is doing the work without the glory.
So what happened with Sicario? Why didn't you think it did better?
It's unfortunate. I think maybe because it came out in September, maybe because it was an action movie, people weren't taking it seriously. There was some hope that Benicio del Toro would get a Best Supporting Actor nomination, which I think he totally deserved. He was fantastic in that movie. But that sort of ties into that larger issue of like why there were only white actors nominated this year. But yeah, I think it was, as you said, it was a crowded field. This is one of the few years where I was actually happy with the movies that were nominated for Best Picture. I thought if you took all those movies together and watched them, you would have a very good film festival, and there wouldn't really be any down points. And that's rare. That's 8 movies that the Academy came to a consensus on saying these are good, and that people by and large agree with. Like it's actually fun to debate these movies this year. and you're always going to leave some stuff out. And I think Sicario maybe didn't have the push it needed from the studio in the campaigns. It didn't have maybe the audience support that other popular hits did, like Mad Max. So I think unfortunately, it got a little bit lost this year.
This was the first year in a long time where I saw multiple movies multiple times. I saw Star Wars 3 times, dressing up for one.
What'd you dress up as?
Well, I mean, they're on Facebook. I grew a Lando Calrissian mustache, and I showed it to Blogging Heads viewers on there, so I did it with my friend Kate. And she dressed up as Princess Leia from Hoth. And yeah, anyway. And then I saw Mad Max twice, which was totally awesome.
Worth it. Yeah.
Star Wars 3 times. Sicario once, I think, but I don't know. Maybe
so you felt more passionate about the movies you liked this year.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, it was great American cinema this year, and I'm totally down to see The Revenant again. I don't remember the last time. I'm trying to think if there were any other movies I've seen recently.
One you should see.
What?
One you should see.
I saw Deadpool recently. I really liked that.
Oh, I have not. I have to catch up.
Ryan Reynolds is so good at being like the protagonist or antagonist with a snarky sense of humor. He's so good at just being like, you don't like him?
No, you're right. He's a snarky guy. He's very good at being snarky. I didn't say I didn't like him.
Oh, you just sort of shrugged in that way.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think that people should check out Zootopia when it comes out this Friday. Yeah. That is one.
So what is Zootopia about?
Okay, so Zootopia is a Disney cartoon, from the same studio that made Frozen and Wreck-It Ralph. And it's about this future society where predators and prey, everyone is an animal. Predators and prey have evolved to a point where predators are not trying to eat prey, and they're all living side by side in this like very adorable harmony. And there's a rabbit cop as the main character, and she's trying to make it in the big city, but she keeps being stereotyped because she's a rabbit, and she keeps stereotyping other people because she assumes that they are what their animal type tells them they are. And so it's really it's interesting because it starts out as this movie about talking animals, and then it becomes a movie about cross-cultural understanding and overcoming prejudice. And I was kind of pleasantly surprised that a Disney movie was willing to be so current and so, exciting and a little bit political. Like if you read it a certain way, about race politics, but it's good for kids. It's good for adults. I sound very silly praising a Disney movie, but it is good. You should see Zootopia. And I wish it had come out earlier because I think its themes are very prominent for the presidential campaign right now.
Yeah. Well, let's close out. Today is Super Tuesday, and the expectation is Donald Trump is going to win, and that Hillary Clinton is going to win big. I'm hesitant from the indicators we've seen out there to say anything about Bernie Sanders' chances or the chances of Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio. I am a little surprised that Ben Carson is still in the race, frankly, because he's not doing super well. But the interesting thing about that is that Sanders, who I don't expect to do super well today on Super Tuesday, and Carson have never had trouble raising money, but they, ironically, aren't. I mean, there's something more to politics, which I think we should take to heart, than the fact that the ability to raise huge sums of money. Everybody, or a lot of people for a long time, have criticized Citizens United for allowing the floodgates to open on super PACs. But the guys with the biggest, baddest super PACs, Unlimited PAC by Scott Walker, and Right to Rise by Jeb Bush, aren't in the race anymore. They raised a huge amount of money and they couldn't do shit. So that's the amazing part about it. In the past few days while you were gone, Andrew, one of the big and most surprising things that happened was Chris Christie endorsed Donald Trump for president, which, let me tell you, as the Christie beat reporter at Politico this cycle, I found very surprising. Just because Christie would rant about Trump. Christie's top strategist, Mike Duhame, very recently went on TV and bashed Trump. But there you go. And a lot of Republicans in the establishment felt that Christie was a traitor on this point because he aligned with the establishment wing of the GOP, and by giving Trump his endorsement, Christie legitimized him in some supporters' eyes. So it was not good for them. What else? I think after today, we're about to see the race winning down to 3 or 4 candidates. And it's going to be a virtual race between Trump and Hillary Clinton. So when you get back from Paris, whenever that will be, that's what you have to look forward to.
Great. I can't wait for that.
Right. All right, Andrew Lapin, thanks very much for your time here. I will see you. Au revoir. I'll see you on the American side, if there's an America, when you get back.
Thanks, Daniel. Keep it safe for me.
Yeah, right.
Okay.